Hi, welcome back to another week of the RevMD podcast. This week, we're going to talk about something a little different, not directly related to billing, but really related to leadership and how we run our businesses. And so today we're going to talk about 5 steps to successfully take a vacation. If you guys are new listeners, my name is Heather Signorelli. I'm a pathologist, a physician executive, and we run a full-service medical billing and coding company. We help practices grow their revenue, think about operations, think about efficient workflows so that they can get the revenue that they deserve. And we've had several clients this past year who we've increased their revenue close to 30%. And so we're excited to help partner with physicians, whether that's a coding audit or whether you're looking for a new medical billing team. We are here to help. If you'd like to learn more, you can head over to our website at nationalrevenueconsulting.com or shoot us an email at info@nationalrevenueconsulting.com. All right, back to the show this week. So we all know that as business owners, right, it's really difficult taking a real vacation, right? The one where you put the phone down, you leave it in the hotel room, you're not checking your email, or at least you're not checking your email much. And as you guys know, I have a big day job running hospital laboratories, and we also have our family-run medical billing company. And so these are 2 things that take up a lot of our time. We've got kids, we've got dogs, and so we've got all the things that also need us and need our time. And I am certainly one that, has to listen to my own advice on this one, but I wanted to share some advice that we have seen others use to be successful in kind of getting that time that they deserve away from your business, with your family, and off the computer and off the phone. Because it is important, right? We have to make sure that we have those lines delineated in terms of when we're going to decompress and let go of things and when we're going to be busy and productive. And so earlier this summer, we took a long vacation for us. It was 10 days. And it honestly is the longest vacation I think I've ever taken. My kids are now 10 and 8. And so traveling with them is getting easier and easier for my husband and I. And so we wanted to be able to really kind of decompress. And while I didn't 100% disconnect, I was able to really get a lot of disconnect and a lot of time with them. So we're going to talk about, again, 5 key strategies that you can put into place so that you can have that time with your family, have that chance to be able to come back to work refreshed. And if you guys haven't read the book, The 4-Week Vacation, I highly, highly recommend it. It is a little beyond where I can comprehend right now, just with my day job and our business. But it is a goal, right? To be able to run a business, be efficient with your time, have leaders that you trust, have processes in place. And so all of that would be really key to get in place so that you are capable to disconnect for 4 weeks at a time and take this quote unquote 4-week vacation. Again, I have not done that yet. Again, life goals, right? But wanted to share some of the tips that we are implementing within our own business and also implementing in our life and being able to teach our kids that we can disconnect. And so number 1 thing in regards to being able to do this successfully is really having a leader who is fielding any major issues or blow-ups or crises. And so this really, involves having individuals in your company, in your practice, for us in our billing company, or even in my day job, that I know can handle the majority of things, right? We know that they may not be able to handle 100%, but they should be pretty darn close. And being able to say, okay, what can I triage? What can I communicate to folks saying, hey, we hear you. This is what we can do immediately. And really, when I think about leaders that you're delegating things to, I think it's important to have a couple things. They should really be working with you when you manage crises, right? So when you are out there managing a major issue, how do you respond? How do you talk about it? How do you think through the problem? How do you make sure that, you are teaching them during that moment of crisis or during that moment of urgent issue that needs to be resolved, so that they can model that behavior, so that they can understand your mission and values when it comes to managing your business, so then they can do the same thing for you in your absence. And I really, think that, even as a small company or as, small practices, having, one or two individuals who are that person who do understand how to troubleshoot and solve crises is just so important. And I really, suggest, as you prepare for a vacation, or as you get ready to go on a vacation, or you're planning a vacation, that those individuals have the opportunity to work alongside you and beside you, or even have them manage a crisis without you, but you're right there in the background so that you can step in if necessary. But that way they kind of start to get that experience, they get that exposure, so that they understand, how would you respond to something, but also allowing them to take the lead. And one of the things that we definitely do, both in my day job as well as our company, is when an issue comes up, is this something that I absolutely have to solve? Or can I teach, our managers or our, other leaders how I would approach something, but then actually let them do the management? And I think this is really key, because it's easy to step in, right? It's easy to step in and solve the problem. It's oftentimes even faster to step in and solve a problem for somebody else. But then at the end of the day, you will never be able to be pulled out from that. And so I think that's why it's really important to be able to teach them, to have processes, to share your mission and values. For us, for our billing company, one of my mission, with all of our customers, and a value that I try and share with our staff, is that I am all about fast communication. I think this is important to have people understand that we're working on something, we'll get back to you, and be able to get an answer back as quickly as possible. So that to me is super, super important. And hiring the right people is important. Teaching them as you delegate things, right? So keeping everything that is under your own control and that you just do is never going to allow those people to grow. So delegation is key. I'm constantly writing, okay, what 3 things this month can I delegate to someone else, or teach them how to do something, so that I continue to have people that can back me up and that can learn from my train of thought. And it's not that I always have the right viewpoint on something, but that at least allows them to see how I would approach something, and then we can talk about it. So again, number one thing, having a leader who is engaged, who is responsible, who's knowledgeable, who you've practiced delegation to, who can kind of take on any crises or urgent issues in your absence. And again, practice is key for this skill set to be efficient. Now, number 2. You guys know I'm a pathologist. I'm a big fan of policies and procedures and setting expectations well in advance for your team. So again, I just mentioned how communication is really important for us. And so we have an expectation in our company that we're getting back to emails within 24 business hours. So that's something that's, all of our staff are trained on and that they know. And so this is something that we really practice in our own company. We are drafting policies and procedures for each of our practices. And these are an evolution, right? As we're onboarding new clients and trying to understand what their process is today and what their optimal process is, and working with them to improve on processes. So policies and procedures, whether that's about communication or how you handle, if you're a practice, patient registration or your billing process, all of those things should be written down. So if something comes up while you're out, nobody is unclear on how it should be handled. There should be training, and everybody should be really knowledgeable about how things work, either in your office or for us in our billing company. Number 3, communication with your teams and clients beforehand. So if you are going out on an extended vacation, I find it as a common courtesy to let folks know, hey, we're headed out. We're not going to be on email, but here's who you can speak with. And you delegate those, individuals as managers, the opportunity to be the first point of contact, so that if an email does get sent to you and you are out and not responding, they don't think that you are ignoring their email. Obviously, away messages, I think, is a common courtesy. I think just letting people know, hey, we're out. We're not going to be answering emails, and being able to let them know that you're going to be slow to respond, but here's who to contact with. So again, communication is always, again, it's one of our most important things in our own company to make sure folks know how often they can expect communication, when they can expect communication changes, or who they should contact when folks are on vacation. Now, number 4, how do you completely disconnect when there are emails flying in? And, in my day job, as well as our billing company, it's not like when you go on vacation, work stops, right? Work just continues to pile up. It's just a matter of delegation in terms of, can somebody else take care of it in your absence? And there's always going to be some things that, especially early on in a company, that need your assistance. And so how do you make sure when you're on vacation to kind of disconnect from those emails? And I think a few key things, right? So looking ahead and understanding, okay, while I'm gone, these key things are going to need to be done. I'm going to have to make sure that I've delegated those to someone else. And then from an emails perspective, how do you manage all the emails? I personally don't completely disconnect. Maybe I will get there one day, but I spend 30 minutes a day, which is typically either before my family is up or after they've gone to bed, depending on, where we're traveling in the world. But I spend 30 minutes to clean up emails. And so that's an easy way for me to come back to work without hundreds of emails that have piled up. So I carve out that 30 minutes, and I'm not necessarily spending an exorbitant amount of time dealing with emails, but I'm essentially triaging. So I'm looking at email first thing in the morning is typically my routine because I'm an early riser. And so I'll spend a few minutes deleting junk, right? Clearing out the junk emails, but then delegating other emails that I know other folks can do, or giving tips to things. So if there's a quick question that came in, hey, here's how I would approach this, but then tasking that back to them to manage. And then last is really saving those emails that are going to take longer than 2 to 3 minutes, putting those into a bucket and saving that for when I get back. And I'll typically, try and block, an hour after we get back, if it's in the evening and I have a chance to do that before the workday starts, or early in the morning, just to kind of clear out that before meetings and everything start. So I know some people want to really, really completely disconnect, and there may be some instances in the journey of your business that you are able to do that, especially if you do a lot of patient-focused stuff and you've completely delegated everything out. I think that is truly the goal to get to. Again, I'm not quite there yet, but I do think that, the 30 minutes a day has been very successful for me. I'm able to clear out the stuff. I feel better going into the day. I leave my phones and try and get off the email while I'm out with my family. And that way, when we come back in the evenings, I at least know that there's not a mountain piled up, and that I'll get to that pile, at least mini pile, the next morning, and be able to kind of clear away the junk, task other stuff, and then the remainder of stuff I save for when I get back. All right. Last but not least, the 5th tip I'd like to share is really about re-entry. So you've had this nice, lovely vacation. You've been able to decompress. You've been able to get away from things. Now, how do you re-enter the workforce when you've maybe been gone for, say, 7 to 10, 14 days, or hopefully maybe even that 4-week vacation if you've gotten there. And so there's 2 things that I really like to do, both in preparation as well as on the re-entry side. The first is, before I leave, I like to have those one-on-ones scheduled with each of those key individuals that I'm delegating things to, and really understand, okay, what projects do we have anticipated coming up while I'm gone? Going over any, concerns or issues that are kind of pending that may need to be delegated off. And then when you re-enter, you're rescheduling those one-on-ones. And maybe you don't typically have those one-on-ones that frequent, or maybe you've missed a one-on-one. And so then really catching up on the things that you've missed, and have that hit list of things and projects that were pending prior to when you went out. And you're really sitting there and going over, okay, what's the update on this? What's the challenge and barrier that I'm overcoming? And what's the timeline that we expect this to be addressed, and who's the last responsible party? So, that sort of hit list of things with each of your managers or each of the individuals that you have delegated stuff to or who've been covering for you in your absence is going to be really important so that you can download, hopefully that first day that you are back into the office, and get all of those big issues addressed. Carve out that hour to address the emails that you had held off on answering until you got back. And so that reentry should be, maybe it's a half day or a couple hours that first day back where you're really being able to solve those problems, have your one-on-ones, get those emails cleared out, and then really be able to kind of then continue to move on. Now, I've said this before, I do, very much, have a hard time letting go. And so these are 5 things that we put into place when we recently went on a longer vacation. And again, the 4-week vacation is something I aspire to and something I hope to work towards. Again, not there yet. I really enjoy, both of our, family business as well as my day job. And so I certainly enjoy having the support of my staff to be able to answer questions while I'm out and be able to manage things so that I don't have to worry about every single thing. But also I recognize I love my jobs. So it's a lot of fun to be able to work with people that I enjoy working with. So I hope that as you guys have listened to this, you can think through, okay, who are the leaders that I can start delegating more stuff to, that I can teach them to cover for me in my absence. If you are thinking about what policies and procedures you can have in your office, start slow. Think about the things that you do common over and over and over again. And do you have even a short policy around that? And you can always grow it over time or make videos as policies. If writing isn't your key thing, then sitting down and doing a podcast or a video for your staff to say, here's how I handle XYZ issues, or here's, how the process I want to be, have in place for XYZ process in my office, whether that's a billing process or a registration process or how to manage your payroll and accounting. Every single thing in your office, if you've delegated to someone else, there really should be a policy and procedure around that. And the key thing is if you do create those policies and procedures and you do have staff turnover, they're right there in a video or in a written Word document that you can share with new staff. Again, communication is always key, making sure your staff know when you're going to be out, your clients know when you're going to be out, who's going to be on point to answer those questions when they come up, and then having some way to manage the hundreds of emails that you may be getting in a quick way to be able to manage those so you feel less stress when you are away, that you have a process for also coming back and reentering the workforce. So again, a little different kind of podcast this week, but just wanted to share some tips as we all need downtime and all need time to relax with our family and be able to re-enter the workforce ready to go and feeling refreshed. So with that, again, take a listen to that 4-week vacation. I highly recommend it. And again, I'm still working on the principles in that book, but these are 5 tips that I have found helpful. I hope you enjoyed our podcast this week. And as always, if you are able to leave us a review, I would really, really appreciate it. You can head over to Apple Podcast or any other place that you listen to the RevMD podcast. If you would like to join our Facebook group, we are on Facebook. The group is called REVMD, RevMD. And again, our company name is National Revenue Consulting. Have a great, great week, and we will talk to you soon.